All right, so I'm Katie. Hate that I can't see you all in person, but I hope this will suffice, at least for now. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Entomology, and I work with Tom Kuhar, who's the vegetable entomologist for Virginia. So I'm putting my email address at the beginning of the presentation, just in case you should have any questions, you'll know it. I'm going to try to keep this presentation brief today due to time constraints, but if you have a question about something that I don't mention, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. So first, I just really briefly want to talk about hemp russet mite. So we saw this a lot last year. I'm seeing it a good bit this year too. When it's present on plants, it usually causes leaf curling. So in some cases, the leaves curl downward, like the photo on the left, and in some cases, the leaves curl upward. So we think this depends on where the highest concentration of mites is located, whether they're located on top of the leaf or the bottom of the leaf, which influences which way the leaves curl. Additionally, feeding can cause a grayish coloration, like in the photo on the right, as this type of feeding kills epidermal cells on the surface of the leaf. So last year I was really worried about this pest and these mites spreading quickly and easily throughout the field, since they're very tiny and so light in weight. But however, based on what I've seen in the field last year and this year, that really doesn't seem to be the case. Based on what I've seen, the presence and resulting potential plant injury seems to remain localized. We think what could be happening is that mites are coming in on transplants wherever you're getting those from. And I think that yield will slightly be affected, but you won't completely lose a plant. So if you choose to treat for this, I would spot treat it rather than, kind of treating the whole field. And remember that this mite is extremely small. It can't be seen without the use of a strong hand lens or microscopy. So this image just shows you what the mites look like when you see them under the microscope. So now for the pest of the hour, or the pest of the year, I'm going to spend the rest of my time today talking about corn earworm because it's such a serious pest of outdoor hemp. So as you can see just from the photos on this slide, earworms can vary in their coloration. Sometimes they're green, yellow, pink, or brown. Color is not always an identifying factor. And at this time, early September, they're present on outdoor plants everywhere throughout Virginia. They can mainly be found feeding on bud material or leaves to a lesser extent, but they're on your plants. They might be hiding, but I promise they're there. So sometimes worms can be really tough to see because they nestle within the bud material, as you can see on the left. In addition to feeding on buds, they can also chew on stems, as you can see in the photo on the right. So if the plant is younger or it has sort of a thinner stem, like this plant that doesn't have the buds fully developed yet, the chewing behavior can clip the stem and cause it to fall over, and that's a portion of the plant that's lost. So, when they clip the stems like this, the plant portions usually aren't huge, but it still is a loss of plant material. So more photos, these give you an idea of the size of the worms that can be present in plants. Larger worms are certainly easier to see, but you definitely want to catch them and hopefully kill them before they reach this size. So again, they're attracted to the bud portion of the plant, especially when the plant is in flowering. We all know how fragrant this plant is, so it's really attracting this insect into the field. But they can also be found hiding on leaves or stems. So while bud rot is not a direct result of corn earworm feeding, we commonly see bud rot where worms are present and have fed on hemp. So bud rot happens as a result of mechanical injury to plants. So as these plants are injured, environmental pathogens can enter this plant material via the injury spots. So since corn earworms have chewing mouth parts, their feeding is what leads to this type of injury. So managing this insect in hemp can help with preventing the presence of bud rot. So it's certainly a challenge to manage corn earworm in hemp, and unfortunately we are extremely limited with options for insecticide management. But I've been working to test products that are currently allowed for application in hemp. So the graph on this slide, or these results, are from a lab test that I ran just last month. So what I did was I collected earworms from untreated corn around Blacksburg, and we tested 2 BT Azawi products, which are Agree and Zentari. You can see those along the horizontal axis of this graph. And the fourth product that we tested is a newly labeled product for hemp called Spearlep. The active ingredient in Spearlep is a spider venom toxin, and this product is paired with Leprotec, which is very similar to Dipel. So on the vertical axis of this graph, you have the percent survival of the worms after being exposed to hemp treated with these products for 4 days. So what we're seeing from this study in the lab is that the BT products are giving us about 50% efficacy at best. And I want to point out that since the study occurred in the lab, this is really the best case scenario. You're probably going to get slightly less efficacy in the field just because this product is going on the plant and the plant is exposed to environmental conditions such as rain and sun and everything else. One last thing I should mention, that UTC here is the untreated control. So that's just worms that fed on hemp that was not treated at all. So in addition to these lab studies that I'm doing, we have a really large scale field trial going on right now in Blackstone, as Dr. Reed mentioned earlier. So in a few weeks, I'll have data from this study to share with you. And just today, I've started another lab earworm test, so I'll share those results as soon as they're available. So talking about managing this insect, like I said, we're really limited in the choices that we have for insecticide applications to the crop just because of the constraints that we have to deal with and legalities. But these BT products are commonly available on the market right now. And so if you do choose to spray a BT product on hemp, at this time, we're really strongly recommending that you choose Agree or Zentari. So Agree and Zentari contain BT Azawi. It's just a certain strain of BT, whereas the others contain BT Kerstaki, which is just another strain of BT. What we've seen in hemp and other crops like corn is that BT Kerstaki is not really working as well as we'd like. There's a lot of widespread corn earworm resistance to BT Kerstaki. So again, that's why they're not working as well. Like you saw in my lab study, it is really unfortunate that you won't get 100% efficacy from any of these products on this slide. But if you're going to spend the money to buy these products and spray them on your crop, please consider choosing Agree or Zentari, just because you'll get a little bit better efficacy from this active ingredient. So one thing to know about BT is that these products have a much greater efficacy on smaller worms. So if you can catch the worms when they're smaller and apply it then, it's going to work a lot better. So please keep in mind with BT as well that in order for the product to be effective, the worm must consume the product. So you've got to get good coverage on the plant. The worm has to consume plant material that has the product on it, and then they'll die. It's going to take a few days for them to die, but if it's working, you'll see dead worms in probably 3 to 4 days. So the other best option for managing corn earworm is the use of products that contain a virus specific to corn earworm. So the trade names of these types of products are Heligen, which is from the company AgBiotech, and Gemstar, which is from the company Certis. So similar to BT, these products have a greater efficacy on smaller worms. So again, applying it at the right time is key, and scouting your field to know when those small worms are there is highly important. So it's a positive that since these products only affect corn earworm, they're super safe for non-targets. The only insect in your field that's going to be affected by the application of these products is corn earworm. And due to the specific mode of action in these products, there's a very low chance for resistance to this product to ever occur. So this should be safe in the coming years as long as it ends up working. And another benefit is that on a per acre basis, these products are more cost effective to apply than BT. One thing I want to point out is that if you buy this, it comes in bulk and it's going to be expensive, but again, it's cheaper to apply per acre than BT. Additionally, if whatever water you're mixing this in, it pays to test the pH of the water because these products perform best at a neutral pH, which is 7. So if you're typically somewhere in the window of 6 to 8, you should be good to go with these products. So here are some images of corn earworms that have succumbed to this virus. They frequently look like melted worms that are hanging off of a bud or a leaf. You can see the brown or black appearance of the worms in these photos. I know it looks really gross, but if you can, please resist the urge to remove these dead worms from plants, because as the body of this worm breaks down, virus particles will spread throughout the field, which allows the product to have even greater efficacy. And another thing, it might seem alarming when you use these products because you're going to see more worms at first. That does not at all mean that there are more worms present on your plants. It just means that they're kind of coming out of wherever they're hiding, or coming out of the bud material. They're crawling to the topmost portion of the plant. It's weird, but that's just what the product does to the behavior of the worm. So like I was saying, when the worms are infected with the virus, they crawl to the top of the plant to die, which is usually situated in the top portion of the bud. And you can see this well in the photo on the left. So this worm isn't dead or kind of melted over the leaf material just yet, but it has crawled to the top of the plant and is very sick. You can tell it's kind of laid there. It's not feeding. It's basically just waiting to die, and it'll be dead really soon. So the photo on the right is just another example of a dead melted worm. It's just a little bit lighter in color. Just like to provide pictures so you can see what this looks like on a real life basis. So to close here, I wanted to plug again the Virginia Hemp IPM Guide, which thanks to Michael Flessner for mentioning that earlier. We just released this in the spring, and you can find this on the Virginia Cooperative Extension website. So this is only first version for now, but after this growing season is completed, we'll get together and update this again. So lastly, my email address again, if you have questions about anything I talked about today or something I didn't talk about, please feel free to reach out at any time. I'm always more than happy to help.